Well, good afternoon. I'm Dan Cummings. Vice President Mike Pence is in Syracuse today at this moment, headed from Hancock Airport to the Embassy Suites at Destiny, USA for the beginning of an event-filled afternoon. The Vice President and Second Lady landed at Hancock Airport within the hour, headed right now to a fundraiser, a private fundraiser for Congressman John Katko at the Embassy Suites on Hiawatha Boulevard. Our Andrew Donovan is live there right now. And Andrew, while the event itself, the fundraiser, is closed to the public and the press, this place is drawing crowds of people with money for Katko and criticism outside the event, right?
Well, Dan, the people you're going to hear immediately are the protesters, nearly 200 people, and I'm going to have Jack, our photographer, just spin down Solar Street here toward Destiny, USA. Nearly 200 people are making their presence known as we expect the Vice President to drive down Solar Street in the next few minutes. We know he's on his way from Hancock International Airport, and you can see police here trying to control the crowd, and in the distance you can see quite the motorcade coming. I can't confirm if it's the Vice President, but it's definitely the biggest amount of police presence we've seen. We do expect the Vice President to appear any moment, so this very well could be the security in front of his detail coming from Hancock International Airport. Again, about 200 protesters are here making their presence known, talking about issues from you can hear people talking about the immigration debate happening right now. You see "Shame on Katko" signs in the distance. We know that the two people running against Katko are also here, Juanita Perez-Williams and Dana Bolter, who will face off in a primary next week in order to take on Congressman Katko in November. And we're just basically waiting to see a motorcade with the Secret Service, Syracuse Police, down the distance on Solar Street. Dan, for now, I'll send it back to you, but we'll be waiting for the Vice President to arrive.
All right, Andrew, thanks. We'll be back to you as soon as he does arrive. As he mentioned, Juanita Perez-Williams, one of the two Democrats who wants to challenge John Katko this November, has issued a written statement late this morning criticizing the congressman. She says, quote, "On Monday, Katko gives lip service to ending the inhumane separation of children from their families. The next day, he welcomes the Vice President with open arms to campaign on his behalf, buying his seat back at $1,000 a plate." She continues, "Mark my words, voters will remember this day and Katko's hypocrisy come November." The other Democrat, the endorsed Democrat who wants to challenge Katko in the fall, she's challenging Perez-Williams in a primary next Tuesday. Dana Bolter issued this statement. She says it took weeks for John Katko to say anything about the Trump policies that are tearing families apart, but twice in 7 days he's embraced the Vice President to raise money for his campaign. John Katko, Bolter says, is complicit, and that's why I'm running to replace him in November. Well, there are other voices weighing in on this Trump policy regarding immigration. Governor Cuomo calling attention to the White House policies, issuing a letter to the Vice President this morning, which reads in part, quote, "Welcome to New York, a beacon of liberty and opportunity to the world. With the Statue of Liberty in our harbor, New York has proudly served as a symbol of our American values and a gateway for millions of immigrants arriving in this country." Well, as we've mentioned, Pence and his wife have now arrived in central New York, welcomed at Hancock Airport by groups of military personnel and others. News Channel 9's Farah Jadwin was there within the hour as Air Force Two touched down. So, Farah, how was the reception at the airport?
A very warm reception here, Dan. People waited here probably 2 hours to see Vice President and the Second Lady get here. So behind me, you're seeing Air Force Two, and just a little bit ago, we did see the Vice President and First Lady Second Lady, walk down those steps to meet Congressman John Katko and his wife, and also Onondaga County Legislature Chair Ryan McMahon was here as well. They walked alongside the Vice President, met with people again who waited here a few hours. We did see him shake hands with a World War II veteran, a Navy veteran, very proud and excited to meet the Vice President. We also did see an airman retiring today, getting to shake hands with the Vice President again. Very proud and honored to meet the Vice President on his last day of service. So a warm reception here, and probably about 40 or 50 people waited here and were given clearance to be here at the airfield. And it was a mixture of people from, we met as far away from Oswego County, Cayuga County, people who were proud to say they voted for President Trump and Vice President Pence. And we also did see a mixture of airmen in that little area where people were cleared to meet the Vice President as he arrived today. So we're going to give you that continued live coverage. As you saw, Andrew is awaiting the Vice President's next stop with Congressman John Katko, and we'll continue to give you this coverage all day here on News Channel 9. For now, we'll send it back to the studio. Farah Jadran live here at Hancock Field Air Base.
Farah, thanks. Of course, we know the secure setting there at Hancock Airport almost guaranteed a friendly reception for the Vice President, much different along Hiawatha Boulevard, as we saw from Andrew Donovan at that Katko fundraiser. So we know after the fundraiser is finished at the Embassy Suites, the Vice President will head to Auburn. There, the Vice President will tour this plant, the Nucor steel plant. Congressman Katko will be with him as well for that visit. We know the Vice President will be meeting with the steel workers and delivering remarks on President Trump's tax and trade policies at about 1:45 this afternoon. Nucor employs 24,000 workers across the U.S. and Canada, 300 of them at that plant that Mr. Pence will visit in Auburn early this afternoon. The Second Lady, Karen Pence, she plans a visit to upstate Golisano Children's Hospital. Among other things, she'll be learning about an art therapy program there, sitting in on a session, and delivering some coloring books to the patients at the Children's Hospital. All of that with the Second Lady scheduled to happen at about 2:30 this afternoon. Again, Andrew Donovan is stationed live along Hiawatha Boulevard. We'll be back to him as events warrant. The Vice President and his wife are scheduled to leave Air Force Two this afternoon late today from Hancock Airport, heading to their next event, a meeting of governors in Philadelphia this evening. Our full team coverage will continue throughout this next half hour and again on News Channel 9 first at 4. Time now to get a first forecast of this noon hour. We send it over to Kate Thornton. Standing by with a beautiful Tuesday, isn't it, Kate?
Oh my goodness, does it feel so much better than it was this time yesterday when we were already 90. Not the case now. It is 68 degrees. The other temperature I think is also the most important here, though, that dew point. 56 degrees. Yesterday was in the lower 70s, so it feels so much better outside. So you can definitely notice the difference in the air quality as you step outside the door. There's a nice refreshing breeze from the northwest. All is quiet on live Doppler 9. We do not have to worry about any rain for today. This is going to be a Chamber of Commerce type of day, which, you know, good thing with the Vice President in town. Of course, we like to show off how nice Syracuse can be this time of year now that we are closing out spring and starting summer. So it's going to feel like summer again around here with some warm weather. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes.
All right, Kate, thank you. Let's go to Oswego for this story. The Port City has allocated $75,000 to fix up the Oswego Lighthouse. And this Thursday, Mayor Billy Barlow and the H. Lee White Maritime Museum will dedicate the spot, recognizing it as an historic city landmark. The Oswego funds will help repaint and restore the lighthouse. This comes as Mayor Barlow is also asking the city for another $50,000 for improvements to the Brightbeck Park Harbor Trail. Work is already underway on that trail thanks to a $175,000 grant, but Barlow says that investment is well worth it.
This is a real valuable chunk of land, and it's always been a shame that here in the city we've never been able to capitalize on being a waterfront community and capitalize on the waterfront that we have right here.
And the mayor says the trail will definitely be finished in time for this year's Harbor Fest, but he's asking that park goers stay off the trail in the meantime so they can finish the work. Well, on the Onondaga Lake waterfront this evening, the Phoenix High School Choir will get a chance to join Foreigner again on stage at the amphitheater. The rock group is returning with its Jukebox Hero Tour tonight, and just like last year, they've invited the Phoenix Choir to join them on stage. The Foreigner concert, along with Jason Bonham from Led Zeppelin and Whitesnake, gets underway at 7 o'clock tonight. Oh, and this Saturday at the Amp, Zac Brown fans, if you haven't gotten your ticket yet for the concert, you are out of luck. This morning, they announced that the Down the Rabbit Hole tour stop at the amphitheater is sold out. If you don't have a ticket, they're asking you not even to bother to come. Enjoy that show coming up Saturday. All right, 12:09 still ahead here on the Noon News. We'll check the numbers out of Wall Street. Kate will have your full forecast, and of course we're on top of the Vice President's visit. Vice President Mike Pence, you're looking live as his motorcade makes its way off 81 onto Hiawatha Boulevard eventually at Destiny USA's Embassy Suites, where he will take part in a closed private fundraiser for Congressman John Katko. We've got team coverage continuing throughout the next half hour and throughout the afternoon as the Vice President and his wife pay Central New York a visit this afternoon. Here comes the motorcade up Solar Street right towards the Embassy Suites at Destiny USA. Continuing live coverage after this break. For the moment, we'll stay with this. Why break when the Vice President's in town, right? Because he's in one of these vehicles, never quite sure, right, which one is the decoy and which one is the actual vice presidential vehicle, but he is clearly seeing those protesters that have lined the streets outside Destiny USA, and you can hear them as well, protesting the immigration policies of the Trump administration, protesting John Katko for having a fundraiser with the Vice President. Because there is so much opposition now to the separation of the children from the immigrant families coming in to America. And in the wake of that, the Vice President appears here in Syracuse today for a closed fundraiser, $1,000 a person. Those who are paying $5,000 will get a chance to perhaps meet the Vice President within the next hour as he raises money for Katko's re-election this fall, his re-election campaign against one of two Democrats, whoever wins a primary next week. All right, now we'll take our break and we'll come back with more coverage on the Vice President's visit right after this.
Now, your news on the go.
And happening now, Vice President Mike Pence is at a closed fundraiser for Congressman John Katko, and it's drawn a crowd of protesters. Andrew Donovan is live for us along Hiawatha Boulevard outside the Embassy Suites at Destiny USA. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Dan, good afternoon. We are live in front of the Embassy Suites where that $1,000 a plate fundraiser is happening inside. You can see right behind me, high security at the entrance to the Hotel Solar Street in front of Destiny USA is closed. There is the Embassy Suites. Inside, the Vice President of the United States is speaking at a fundraiser for Congressman John Katko, who faces re-election in November. And just down the street here, we've seen a huge group of protesters dwindle just a little bit, but down the street closer to Destiny USA, there's probably 100 to 200 people waiting for the Vice President to exit the hotel and move on to his next step, visiting Nucor Steel in Auburn to talk about the tax plan that he and Donald Trump put through Congress at the end of last year. A few minutes ago, we saw the motorcade come right down Solar Street. It got off of Interstate 81. It took 81 from the airport, came down Solar Street, and that's when we saw the protesters at their loudest. They're making their voices heard by Vice President and his wife as they entered that hotel. These protesters continuing to wait outside for him as that fundraiser goes on inside the Embassy Suites. We'll stay out here and we'll have a lot more coverage coming up on News Channel 9. We'll talk to the protesters. We hope to hear from Congressman John Katko. We'll hear from John Katko's challengers, the winner of the primary next week, who will face him in November. For now, live in Syracuse, Andrew Donovan, News Channel 9.
Yeah, and Kate, you can see all the blue sky behind Andrew's head. It's a nice day, huh?
Yeah, the Vice President is getting a good taste of what Central New York is like in summertime. There's nothing better, right? Temperatures in the 70s for the rest of the week, 80s by this weekend. That will also be our next chance for some rain.
All right, updates on the news and the weather anytime you need it at localsyr.com. Continuing team coverage of the visit of the Vice President to Syracuse and Auburn this afternoon, starting on News Channel 9, first at 4.